I'm able to highlight a lot more food than probably a food reviewer would be able to. So at one time I could have a table full of basically the whole menu. And it just highlights to the people looking on social media, okay, wow, I've seen that steak, those ribs, those burgers. And it just provides them an insight of what they could expect when they go down to the venue.
The Bishop Stortford Community Podcast is all about shining a light on the businesses, community leaders and local legends that make our town a great place to live. But behind the scenes, to run the podcast, it does cost money. So we've set up a simple way for you to support the podcast through the Giving Lottery. It's just £1 per week, and every week you're in with a chance to win a prize. And a portion of that money goes directly into supporting the podcast and creating more stories and more interviews like today's. If you'd like to support what we're building here, the link's in the show notes. Thanks in advance for your support. Okay, back to the episode. Welcome to the Bishop Stortford Community Podcast, the show where we shine a light on the incredible businesses, community leaders and local legends shaping our town. I'm your host, James O'Donnell, and today we are joined by Franco. Franco, great to have you on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Not a problem, Franco. For those of us who don't know you yet, who are you and what do you do here in Bishop Stortford?
So I'm a local resident and I actually do food challenges and I'm a competitive eater. I've been doing this probably close to 3 years now. And one of the things that I wanted to get out of it was to promote and shine a light on local businesses. I think I saw post-COVID that many businesses were falling by the wayside. And I thought, okay, I like eating, I can eat a lot, but I want to try and marry the two worlds up and shine a light on what the venues are actually offering. And I am almost secondary to that equation. Actually then guiding the businesses and shining that light about what they offer. And many people come up to me and say, look, I didn't know those places exist, or I've had the opportunity to go and visit and I've seen their fantastic food and my family absolutely love it. And that obviously means a lot to me as well, as much as it means to the venue.
That's awesome. What was that? What was the spark? You must have been sitting there thinking, how can I help these businesses? Right, I'm going to start doing competitive eating with them. How does that happen?
Very good question. I was going to say, you ask me, and obviously you are asking me. I've always been into the gym, and through the gym, you have to eat quite a high amount of calories, obviously to sustain like any recovery, any muscle growth. I used to be a competitive powerlifter, so I've got that background. I think the way that it led me into this, as I mentioned, post-COVID, saw so many businesses fall by the wayside, and I thought, what can I do? And I started researching online, and I found, obviously, I've always been watching these food challenge videos, and I thought, okay, let me start in a local community and speak to a few venues. And it sort of went from there. And if I can call out a few venues, Eat 17, South Street Pantry, F Cooks, they all assisted me in jumping in on bandwagon and helping me with food challenges. And I think they saw a different avenue to get their business out there. So it's not just a case of advertising in a local paper or advertising online. We were actually able to do reels and the actual food challenge to get those mediums to highlight the food. Many people then have said to me, look, I've seen that food in your food challenge. I've gone down there. It's changed, obviously, the venues that I go to. My family love that. And I've told my friends, and it increases the business. And I think it just provides a different avenue. So much is done online now. And if you can add a different flavor or fun flavor, that obviously adds to the business as well.
Yeah. What was the first challenge that you did?
The first challenge I did was actually, I forgot to mention Smokes Barbecue. So that was before I actually got on YouTube. They had a food challenge, and I'm still all over their wall there. So when you walk up the steps, my face is plastered all over there. I think it's still there. So that was the first one I ever did. And then after that, it just snowballed in the local arena. And then I started going further afield across the UK.
Wow. That's incredible. There seems to be, from looking at your content, there seems to be a really nice community around competitive eating. Am I reading that right?
Absolutely. And we have like a WhatsApp chat, a Facebook Messenger chat, and we all speak together to try and improve like what we're doing, trying to find a different avenue, because sometimes it can be stale. Like you're doing like maybe a pizza, burger, or English breakfast, and they're quite repetitive. So it's looking at opportunities to try and engage not only via social media, but also with that venue and highlight what they do in the local community, what they offer, and how they're going to potentially like maybe evolve. And that's part of the process, because businesses need to evolve to keep up with what's going on, not only in the community, but obviously with business rates, and just stay afloat sometimes.
Yeah. And you see it online quite a bit about businesses that come up with dishes or versions of their food specifically designed for the kind of challenge community, to try and get people to, if you finish whatever this size
Yeah.
pizza is, you get a t-shirt and your face on the wall or something like
Absolutely.
that, or it's free, which is a great innovative way of getting people in through the door.
Definitely. I mean, there's a finite amount of food challenges across the UK. And sometimes, even if you just type in food challenges, Bishop Stortford, there's things that you wouldn't know exist. And it just highlights that venue and brings into perspective of what your venue is doing. People have to branch out, people have to evolve. And sometimes they do that through the mediums of food challenges, offers, discounts. But it's all done via social media. Sometimes that's how businesses are going to be discovered.
Yeah. And is it always volume, or is it sometimes spiciness?
I'm not that good with spice.
No.
It's generally the volume of foods and also speed at work. So as an example, this past weekend at F Cooks, I helped to organise a pie eating contest. As many pies as we could eat in 5 minutes. It got a bit messy, but the local community came together. And as we were getting things ready, the amount of people that just came in just wanted to see what was happening.
Yeah.
And probably the amount of people that had never actually been into F Cooks. Fred was very happy to get new customers as a result. And it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a good way of getting people to come and try something that otherwise they wouldn't do. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, I think people are intrigued. In some ways, it can be a bit taboo and some people can be put off. But sometimes it's one of those things that you want to keep on watching and find out what happens and how can the human body actually do this.
Yeah, yeah. I think also just having the kind of slight celebrity angle of someone coming and creating content at a place that's known does create an extra, I'd like to give that a go. I remember, it's a different kind of scenario, but I'm a big fan of Somebody Feed Phil Rosenthal on Netflix. He's not a competitive eater, but he travels around the world, goes and tries out different food, high-end food, street food, whatever it is. And my wife and I have used that as a way of booking holidays places, because then you can actually download the places he's been to Google Maps and kind of follow along with him, which is really interesting. And it's a good way, I think, for any kind of business to put themselves on the map, is by engaging with that celebrity culture a little bit, to invite people in, to give them a go, because other people are then going to want to follow along. And the high street is struggling so much at the moment. The more that businesses can do to kind of tap into that culture, I think is the better.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things I'm seeing with this is I become secondary, and that's what I want to try and do. It's to show not only the food but also the wider offering of the venue. And when I've got the cameras up and running, the amount of either children or families that come over and just try and interact with you, and that's great as well. One of the things that I try to do slightly different, which not too many food challenges are doing, is meet and understand a bit more about the venue. So I understand about the history, the wider offering on the menu, what they do with the local community, and tie that into then what's actually been offered as a challenge. And it shines a light on the venue, to be honest, as well. Yeah. And not everyone's up for being on camera, but the ones that are see the return on investment in having their video or their reel up out in the social media stratosphere.
Yeah, fantastic. Any really big challenges coming up over the next 6-12 months?
I haven't got, in terms of plans for the future, I mean, I'm always discussing things. As an example, myself and two competitive eaters, we did a lamb in North London. So a whole lamb inside. That was based at a Turkish restaurant. So that was 15 kilos worth of food divided by 3 of us. Yeah. Now, the venue told me it's normally for up to 12 people, and nobody, even 12 burly men, have been able to take it down. But you'd have to check out the video on my YouTube channel to see how we got on.
Oh, we'll link up to that. Don't you worry about that. I saw some of the clips from it. It looked crazy.
It was definitely something different.
Yeah. So if there's any businesses out there, like restaurants, that are interested in tapping into what you're doing, Franco, what's the best way for them to get in contact and
start that conversation?
I'd say the best way is to contact me through my social media platforms, including Instagram, Facebook, but I also have a website of francosfeast.com, and you can email me that way. So there's opportunities depending which platform you're on. And I'd be more than happy to discuss this with you.
Excellent. Well, what we'll do is we'll put that in the show notes
Okay.
so that any businesses out there can reach out and speak to you. But there's quite a good community on the podcast, so hopefully that might start some conversations with you, Franco. But it's been awesome talking to you about this. A really innovative way to support businesses and get out there and to shine a light on the great food culture in the UK. Really,
Yeah.
really exciting.
And I think it's back to that point. It's highlighting the food. And because of what I'm able to do, I'm able to highlight a lot more food than probably a food reviewer would be able to. So at one time, I could have a table full of basically the whole menu. And it just highlights to the people looking on social media, okay, wow, I've seen that steak, those ribs, those burgers. And it just provides them an insight of what they could expect when they go down to the venue.
Yeah. What's the most challenging challenge that you've had?
For me, it's any dessert challenges. They just hit the body differently. Once that insulin is released in the body, especially as a result of copious amounts of the sweet challenge, it just hits the body quite differently.
Wow. And you've got an awareness of that as
Of
that
course,
happens.
yeah. I mean, because like I said, I've been into gym for decades now, and I guess I have an understanding of how the human body works and what works for me and what doesn't in terms of nutrition and balancing, like the lifestyle around it as well.
That's really interesting.
It is a science in itself.
Okay, so Franco, are you ready for some Stortford Spotlight questions?
Of course.
Excellent. These are three super fast questions that we ask every guest that comes onto the Bishop Stortford Community Podcast. First question. If you could put one sentence on a billboard in Jackson Square, what would it say and who needs to hear it the most?
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, without prior preparation, I think I would say, enjoy yourself, take the opportunity to enjoy life and just take it all in.
Fantastic. I think everyone in Stortford will soak that up and try and live a little bit better.
Yeah.
Thanks, Franco. Question 2. Where do you go in Stortford that you secretly hope never gets too popular?
There's just too many venues to name. I think I've highlighted on this podcast so far quite a few venues that have helped me, like Eat 17, Absolute Pantry, F Cooks, to name but a few, Smokes Barbecue. I think I'm going to flip it on its head. I want people to go down to these venues and many more to experience what they have to offer. Otherwise, they won't stay afloat and you have to go further afield. And at the end of the day, we want the businesses here to stay afloat and prosper.
Definitely. Get out, use your independent businesses.
Absolutely.
Spend your money there. Otherwise, they will disappear. That's a good rallying call. Franco, thanks for that. And last question. Who's doing something special in town that more people need to know about?
Oh, in terms, I guess if I can flip that on its head, obviously a lot of venues are offering discounts and deals on what they offer. But someone who's been a good and supportive individual and a good friend of mine for 25 years is Nick Hyde from Blythe Financial, and he's done so much for the local community. I'd like to call him out. He obviously is the chairman of Bishop Stortford Chamber of Commerce and does his own thing to try and promote the businesses. So big shout out to my good friend Nick Hyde as well.
Excellent. We're trying to get Nick on the podcast, Franco. So if you can give him an elbow next time you run into him, let him know that we've got his number.
Absolutely.
And we're trying to book him. That's fantastic, Franco. What's the best place again for people to find you online and try and get involved with you?
So I've got a website called francosfeast.com, and I also go under the same banner across YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Excellent. Guys, if you're listening to this, go and follow Franco. It's brilliant content, very different to anything else that we featured on the podcast so far. So go and follow along and support the work that Franco's doing to shine a light on great food venues in the UK. Franco, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Bishop Stortford Community Podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me again.
Not a problem at all, Franco. If you've enjoyed this episode, the best way to support the show is to hit follow, leave a quick review on YouTube, Apple, or Spotify, and share it on your socials. Or maybe share it with someone in town who's not on social media, who doesn't know who Franco is. So you can show them all the great stuff that he's been doing in Bishop Stortford to shine a light on local venues. And if you've got someone in town that you think we should feature next, someone who is doing great things to shine a light on the local community, drop their name in the comments as well, and I can reach out to them and invite them on the podcast. Again, Franco, thanks for joining us today on the Bishop Stortford Community Podcast.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Franco.